Today is Vasanta Panchami. This is the 5th day and the first day of spring officially. I could feel it in the air today, at least in San Diego. And in India, we will wear yellow and we do specific puja of Saraswati, goddess of learning, on Vasanta Panchami. Also, this day there was Vasantaras done and different pujas are done, but mostly today it's a very auspicious day to start any studies, which is why when I wanted to wait till today to start. Very auspicious. I've not been able to do my own puja today, but I've been doing it in my heart and mind because there were all these activities going on. So I take this opportunity to invoke Saraswati Devi. Saraswati Devi is a manifestation of Vacha, or the sense of Bhagavan Vishnu Narayan, which is the speaking sense, the Vacha, the vocal cords. So she is a manifestation. She's daughter of Brahma, and she plays the veena, which is a drawn instrument like sitar, but it's veena. Veena has a few less strings. She's usually shown sitting on a lotus. या देवी सर्वभूतेषु विद्यारूपेण संस्थिता नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः ॐ सरस्वत्यै नमः. We are not doing it physically, but I would like to offer Saraswati ji a yellow colored and a white colored silk sari with beautiful roses and lotus flowers and some sandalwood, some banana leaves, some bananas, some mangoes, and offering at her lotus feet and praying that she blesses all of us, blesses Sandra, blesses Leah, blesses me, blesses Kristen, Jai, 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 Jai. And may she come as your yoga teacher and may I just be the medium, because I'm very much a student of yoga. I don't know anything. I would like to give pranams to the mystic and the master of all yogis, who is Sri Krishna Chandra Mai Deri. He Krishna Karuna Sindho Deenabandho Jagatpate Gopesh Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate. I would like to give pranams to my spiritual master, a perfect yogi, a real yogi, Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Narayan. Please bless me. As in my mind, I go to your samadhi in Navadvip near Calcutta. And on this day of Vasanta Panchami, I offer you my pranams. Please let this knowledge of yoga manifest in my heart and heart of these students. I offer all of them at your lotus feet. Please manifest this knowledge of yoga in us. And at the end, I would like to specifically give pranams to Shiva, because Shankara actually, there's a Shiva Samhita where Shankara actually taught a couple of about 84 poses are taught by Sri Shiva. So, O Shiva, who was always sitting in Siddhasana and Padmasana and meditating on your Lord Sri Ram, sitting next to your wife Sri Parvati, who's the Mother Nature, and please bless us that we may also taste this beautiful meditation that you always taste. And last but not the least, let me pray to Ganesh. Om Ganeshaya Namah. Please remove all obstacles in our learning. All right. Let me go ahead and share. Can everybody see this? Perfect. So this is the first time I'm doing a yoga teacher training, and I feel extremely unqualified. But like Kristen is now second time doing it, I've actually undergone maybe 3 200-hour yoga teacher trainings over the course of many years, and I feel I know nothing, and I feel very unqualified, but from perspective of a Western, or moreover, a perspective of person who has been practicing an actual practicing to be a sadhaka of yoga for 30 years, I thought, let me give it a try. So if I make any mistakes, please forgive me. I'm very much a student. And my teachers, my guru is my Guruji, and my Lord is the teacher. And hopefully this all goes well. All right. I will get very passionate as we go along because this is yoga. All right. So when we did the last yoga teacher training, was it last year or 2014? Yeah, it was 2014, 15, or it was early 2015. I can't remember. 2014, 15. So basically, we very much covered anatomy, and we covered a lot of asanas. And it was early 15, okay. But there were some things that we did not cover very well. So because this 200-hour yoga teacher training course is registered with Yoga Alliance, and they have a certain number of hours that you have to give to your teaching methodologies, to yoga philosophy, to certain things. So I'm actually going to try to be truthful to that curriculum also. But the focus of the learning would always be pretty much the asanas. But pretty much our textbook is Bhagavad Gita, Hatha Yoga Pradipika, Shiva Samhita, Gheranda Samhita, asanas that are listed in these textbooks, and a little bit of history as I've understood, and as I've understood from acharyas, very, very high qualified spiritual masters and gurus, and actual yogis that I've met in my life. And then we'll talk a little bit about Ashtanga yoga, classical text of yoga. Today's class, I mean, my focus is the classical text of yoga and how the modern yoga has evolved. Towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about the six, though even though that doesn't really add up, but I kind of just wanted to introduce the six basic spinal positions. And so we'll do 1 week, we'll do philosophy. Next week, we'll do something from asana and the teaching methodology, because teaching methodology is part of the Yoga Alliance. And then next week, I and Rose, who's an experienced registered yoga teacher, we are preparing the 12 basic asana PowerPoint, which is your traditional Surya Namaskar. And we'll also talk about Surya Namaskar A and B. But let's focus on what we're doing today. Okay, what is yoga? So if you're familiar with the Yoga Sutras by Patanjali, the second sutra says Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Yoga is the cessation of the turnings of the mind. So Chitta is your mind. Vritti, what is the nature of the mind? What is the nature of the mind? It is always moving. So when people try to meditate and they try to make their mind completely still, it's not possible. You can only do it with yoga practice for many lifetimes. It's not possible in one lifetime that you start this lifetime and then you start. It's not possible. So this is the vritti of the mind, just like it is the vritti of the water to flow. You can't stop the water. The only way you can stop the water is if you turn it into vapor, or if it is turned into ice. But when water is in its natural state, it will flow. It's mobile. So mind is mobile. It'll flow. It'll go everywhere. And it goes in all four directions. So chitta vritti nirodha means stop. So stopping that mind chatter, and when you are also stopping your mind, that means you're actually controlling all your senses. Yoga is the control of all the senses and cessation, stopping all the mind chatter and everywhere the mind goes. So basically controlling the mind and the senses. That's what the yoga is according to Yoga Sutras. And of course, after this, the third or the fourth Yoga Sutra talks about yoga being to actually join together. So we learned that there's 6 Vedic darshanas or philosophy, and yoga is the application of Sankhya. I will not get into how is it in application of Sankhya today, because upto can do it. When we actually have a master of Sankhya who can explain. Yoga is the application of Sankhya. Right now, I'm not talking about yoga in the United States where it's all about, wearing your very fancy schmancy yoga clothes. I'm talking about yoga as it's mentioned in the texts. So one of the 6 darshanas and application of Sankhya. It really doesn't have anything to do with Vedanta or Nyaya or Mimamsha, but it has everything to do with Sankhya. This is where the connection with Ayurveda also comes. Yoga is the physical, mental, and spiritual practice that may include use of breath, cleansing, plant-based sattvic diet, meditation, physical asanas, according to one's age, level, and dosha. And I think that is absolutely important. Why? Because yoga is a darshana, which is application of Sankhya. So you have to see dosha are part of Sankhya because it's all about Panchamahabhut. To achieve balance and wellness. I know this, when I was writing this, I felt, oh my God, there's a lot of information in those 2 lines. But if you were to explain yoga as a yoga teacher to someone, then you really have to give a very comprehensive, it's physical, mental, and spiritual practice. I mean, what to do, that's what you say. You can practice it yourself, classroom guidance of an expert teacher. But this is right now, this definition is for yoga as it is practiced today in a classroom setting or a yoga shala or a fitness. They're only really practicing the physical. And then they're making what I call the yoga khichdi, where they just reverse dog, flip dog, and whatnot. There's a khichdi coming. It's fun. And of course, I'm not going to talk about the yoga therapies. You guys already know it. Modern version of yoga originated from Tirumalai Krishnamacharya, who was a Vaishnav, meaning he was a devotee of Sri Narayan and Vishnu. You could see the big thing that he wore on his forehead, which means he's a devotee of Krishna. And pretty much all his disciples became the modern masters. And that included Indira Devi, B.K. Sayangar, who was actually his son-in-law, Patabi Joyce, A.G. Mohan, who's actually his son. And all of these different versions of yoga were born under them. So this is very interesting. The reason I wanted to put this is Aparna and I talk about this all the time when she watches this. Like, who's a yogi? I was talking about this in the Charak Samhita class yesterday or day before yesterday when we had the Charak Samhita class, that, anybody is a yogi. So, when Mexican food comes from Mexico to United States, they add a lot more cheese, a lot more meat, and they remove the vegetables, and the portion size increases from a little to like really huge. When Chinese food comes here, all the vegetables get removed, the portion sizes become more, very thin, brothy soup becomes thick. When yoga comes here, what it's going to do, there's going to be like an Americanized yoga, fast food khichdi, right? But that's not what you're talking about right now. Yoga as in Bhagavad Gita, very interesting. I'm actually going to open the Gita on chapter 6 right now, and maybe I'll do it later. Yeah, but I have the Gita right here. Now, chapter 6 is Dhyana Yoga in Gita. If you have it, it's a good idea to read it today because it's a very, very good, good day to read it. All right, here we are. What is called renunciation, you should know to be the same as yoga. So renunciation and yoga are the same. One can never become a yogi unless he renounces the desire for sense gratification. And then the next shloka, the next sutra is, for one who is neophyte in Ashtanga yoga, work is said to be the means. That means everything, karma is everything for that person. And one who is already a yogi, it doesn't matter whether material activities don't bother them, basically. So, Ytt-Lesson miti prahur yogam tam vidhi pandava nahya asanyasta sankalpo yogi bhavati kanchana. Sannyas is a very So usually, sannyas means you renounce the world. And it does not mean that you give up the world and you live in a cave. It means you renounce inwardly. You renounce, you understand that this material world is, we are all going to die, we're going to leave this body, and these things are temporary. I want a bigger car, really that attachment to our senses. Um, and keeping the body and mind alive simply for I'm a temple, I'm a medium, keeping this body and mind alive just to be surrendered to the divine and situated in self. And as Atul does classes on Bhagavad Gita, he'll talk about self and super self, the divine that is situated in your heart, is the yoga. In fact, my father and my father always said that one of the perfect examples of a perfect yogi in the modern world is Jesus Christ. He was a perfect yogi. So one can never become a yogi without renouncing the desire to satisfy the senses. So who is a yogi? A yogi is a person who does not want, who is happy with what's been given to them, who have controlled their senses. And usually a person, when they're a yogi, they have siddhis. That means they have certain powers that they can perform. Really, I wouldn't use the word miracles, but they can see miraculous. If you see yogis in India, they can enter Ganga from one place and come, 6 miles up from the other. There are people who are in a yoga practice, and you think they're dead, but 3 days later they come back from their samadhi. And we have seen this, in India. If you go to the Kumbh Mela, you will see there are people who have not eaten anything for 56 days or 60 days, and they can slow their heartbeat and body systems down with the process of yoga. That is a yogi. That is a yogi. So, for the purpose of teaching yoga to people in a classroom setting, somebody who is coming, you as a teacher or me as a teacher or somebody who is a medium for practicing yoga and passing yoga forward, we are sadhakas. Let me write that word down. Sadhaka means we are practicing, so one day we will become a yogi. Does that make sense? So for us, we are going to practice mental, physical, spiritual yoga for balancing mind, body, spirit, and it's a lifetime practice. And we want to achieve sattva of body, mind, spirit, and it's not even going to take one lifetime. It can take many lifetimes. Having said that, so we are aspiring yogi or yoginis. So it's a tool to connect with the divine and find bliss within self, because we are so unhappy. We are not never happy with anything else. So a yogi is a practitioner of ancient Vedic principles and aims to practice at least one, if not all, the Eightfold Path of yoga and utilize the tools available. Here I've cheated a little bit. This is Tina's words. She talks about all the tools that are given to us, like breath, pranayama, meditation, cooking food with intention, and so on. In the Western countries, the physical aspect of yoga. So when I first came in this country, I was so bugged. It's all about the physical. One of my yoga teachers in India say there's eight sections to yoga. One of the section is asana. He said asana is like cow dung. It is mala. It's the stool of cow. And people only want to take the stool, but they don't want to drink the milk and the cream, which is the rest of the portions of Ashtanga yoga, which is the meditation and the yama and the niyama and so on. It kind of stuck with me. We only want to practice this stool. I was very very young then, and for me personally, I have practiced every single limb of the yoga since I was 10 years old. Became more serious when I was 15 and extremely serious when I was 23, and I took initiation from my spiritual master and a perfect yogi. And you have to have a perfect yogi as your master, otherwise many lifetimes. It'll take many more lifetimes. And herein, it's all about the physical aspect. So yes, That is fine. But Kristen, you know what? That is fine. It's a start. It's a start. I used to be so bugged, so bugged, so bugged. But I had a realization that, maybe okay, it may take one lifetime, two lifetimes. It's fine. It's a start. So we all have to, if I want to go from Escondido to Mumbai, from Escondido to, I'll have to hire, an airport limo. I'll have to get in there. I'll have to walk from this room to the limo. It's extreme. Oh yeah, we shouldn't even be recording the part what when we'll have Aparna ji share her thoughts on that at some point. Yes, yeah, we get pretty passionate about this. Um, so also another thing, it's all the practice of yoga, and people who are teaching yoga have become, it's all, six-pack abs and thin women who can who have a lot of strength. But that kind of just defies yoga. That's not what it is. So the reason we are talking about this is, what kind of yoga would you like to practice, and what kind of yoga would you like to teach to your students? And what we have done with the Yoga Alliances, when I was writing the curriculum and I submitted to the Yoga Alliance, I wrote spiritual focus of Hatha Yoga. Spiritual focus, that's it is. We will still finish the curriculum and do everything but spiritual focus. Yes, there's a total imbalance. Now comes a very, very interesting part. We'll talk a little bit about all the ancient texts. Maybe not all, but most. Yoga Sutras by Patanjali. I'm sorry, there's a spelling mistake there. So I'll actually be going through what we'll do is we'll do one class on yoga philosophy and the ancient text, and another class on asanas. Oh yes, yes, I have seen that. Actually, there's now yoga competitions. That blows my mind. Then, of course, you have Hatha Yoga Pradipika. Almost all of these books are available with different commentaries from different teachers in a PDF form. I'm sure everybody already has Bhagavad Gita, but Gheranda, Hatha Yoga, and Yoga Sutras, and out of this, Hatha Yoga Pradipik and Yoga Sutras are most important for us, and we're actually going to go through it A to Z, pretty much, either through the forum discussion or here. So we'll actually go through it, because the focus is, what are the, we have to understand the yoga that they're talking about, even the number of asanas. For example, the asanas given in one particular text are only 15. There is no mention of Surya Namaskar. That is, so we'll talk about it, how that came into being, and the modern yoga, where it came from. Some of the stuff from modern yoga is only 100 years old. It has nothing to do with the ancient texts. I'm talking about the actual things like standing poses and warrior pose and so on. So Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Yoga Sutras of Patanjali are 196 small sutras. So sutra means thread. My Guruji used to say, like if you are trying to make a bead, a mala. What is mala? A necklace. So if you're trying to make a necklace, you actually need a thread, and you need to put a necklace of flowers. You need to actually sew one flower at a time. So when you have small Sanskrit verses, and what they make is a necklace of verses, and they are then called sutras. They're really, really small. They're almost like an index. A lot of information is coded and encoded in these small 1 or 2 or 3 words, or really small phrases. We'll actually go through all of these in the coming classes, but suffice to say that Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, chapter 1 is Samadhi Pada, and the chapter 2 is Sadhana Pad, practice. So when I was in an ashram life, and I was 24, I was in an ashram life most of the week. So we actually would have to read, and we used to actually have to give a test on the Sanskrit from this. Only thing is, our masters had changed a couple of words from just yoga to bhakti yoga. They had actually added the bhakti part. And I used to think that Yoga Sutras are a text of bhakti. I thought this had to do with devotion to God. It didn't even occur to me it's a little bit more general than that. So when I was studying it back in Calcutta and Navadvip when I was 24 and learning everything, and then we were tested on it, I thought, okay, this is a devotional text. So I'm coming from that lineage where it's a devotional text, and then I come in the West, because many people write different commentaries and then they give their own opinion, which is, because it's Shad Darshana, we will accept everybody's opinion. Everybody's opinion is correct because you can look at something from 6 different perspectives. So I have many verses and sutras within Yoga Sutras of Patanjali that I try to live my life by, that Atul tries to live his life by. And they actually also give you strength when you don't have the strength, when you're dejected, depressed. You can't go on, and they give you strength. They're just beautiful, amazing. We'll go through it. We won't be able to go for every single one because it's too big, but we'll try. This was, I actually wrote 5 pages on Bhagavad Gita. Then I went back and deleted everything because there's no way. I am not qualified. And so, so Bhagavad Gita is one small book in a big epic story called Mahabharata, which is a war between 2 sets of brothers for land. Pandavas and the Kauravas, and this is book 6 or book 7, and it has 18 chapters. So the chapter first basically starts on that Arjun is on a chariot, which is being, the charioteer is Krishna, and they are walking between 2 armies, and he becomes Arjun Vishad. If you remember, Vishad means depression, and I talk about it in my Manasa class as well. So he became Vishad. He said, I'm not going to fight. And then, there is Sankhya, a little bit of what's to come later. Then chapter 3 is Karma Yoga. Then chapter 4 is more transcendental knowledge. Chapter 5 is Karma Yoga. Chapter 6 is Dhyan Yoga. Chapter 5 and 6 extremely. Chapter 2, 5, 6. I would say the entire Gita is important, but 2 is important because it really talks about the nature of the Atma. Chapter 5, Karma, how should we perform our karma in this life? And Dhyana Yoga, how we should do Dhyana and meditation, which is chapter 6. And then as we go towards the end of Bhagavad Gita, chapter 17, where it talks about Sattva, Tamas, and Rajas and kind of food we should be eating and so on. And then, of course, you have chapter 14, the 3 modes. You can't do justice to it. It's every time you read the Gita, there's something new that will come up. And even if you don't read it, I've used this for my entire life, and I can guarantee it's going to do the same to you. If you have a question, you know how people do tarot cards? And the tarot cards answer the question. If you really meditate and ask Bhagavad Gita a question, and it'll answer. You open the page, and it'll answer. So I've done that with Bhagavad Gita, with Sri Ramacharitmanas, and yeah, I also have tarot cards. Can't help it. So one of the things is you will see that there's hundreds and thousands of commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. So David Frawley has a beautiful tarot on Sri Ram. I used to have it. I gave it away to one of our students. It's written by Tulsi Das. It's it's amazing. You ask a question and it answers. It really answers. And then you ask again, it'll tell you I already answered the question. But in this deck, there's only one answer because this is coming directly from Tulsi Das. So it's beautiful. So one of the little things is, just what is the summary of each chapter, what we should know. I started studying Bhagavad Gita when I was 15 years old when my father was writing a commentary. And he spent 1.5, 2 years writing a commentary. So I was his ears and I had to listen to him. And it's and then when I joined the ashram life at 23, and I read Bhagavad Gita as it is by Sri Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who's Guruji of Atul. It's like I had never read it. And then I read my Gurudev's commentary a couple of years later, which was a little hard, but not as simple. But it was like, oh my God, it's so new. I've never read this, and I've been reading it again and again. So if it's if you read a novel, a love story or whatever, or even if you see a movie, um, you see it, you read it, and you kind of get bored. You don't want to read it again. But if you look at the divine books, I mean, even if you look at Bible or you look at Bhagavad Gita, and you can go back and read it again and again. It's always new. This is the nature of divine books. So all of these are beautiful, beautiful books, and this is our curriculum. Now, Gheranda Samhita is very interesting. Maybe it pretty much forms, I would say 25% of the course would be based on the Gheranda Samhita, just 25%. I'm actually working on a new yoga teacher training manual. We have lots of manuals from before, but this one is specifically, Manjulali specific. So this one was written around 17th century. It is considered to be an important yogic text. So you know how the Guru Shishya Parampara, Guru tells the disciple who tells his disciple, and this goes on. Nothing was ever written down. So Gheranda was a yogi who taught and talked about this to Chandakapali. So you know how in old times when a guru or a master would speak, then the disciples would take notes on like scrolls. So he took notes, and then the disciple Chandakapali manifested and wrote Gheranda Samhita. And then it was lost for a little while, then it came back. The only problem is, and I'm not talking about a problem with Gheranda Samhita. Any text which was lost, or as it goes through the modern, people add stuff to it. People add things to it. But anyway, usually you will talk about Ashtanga yoga, or eightfold system of yoga. Gheranda Samhita, sevenfold. Very important for Ayurvedic practitioners, this book, because entire Panchakarma is part of this. The whole Vamana Kriya, Nauli, the kapha, getting the kapha out by making a person vomit, through pranayam, the nasya, neti, a lot of the shodhan therapies of Ayurveda are part, and maybe even borrowed, or same. Shatakarma is sixfold purification, very, very important for a yogi. So that is another connection between Ayurveda and yoga. And of course, why is asana needed? The only reason is if we're going to live our life as a devotee and as someone who is going to go to a higher place after this life, then if we are weak in body and mind, how are we going to meditate? So the whole purpose of asana is to strengthen the body and mind so it can meditate. That is the aim and object of asana. Asana. You can stay still and strengthen your body, and you can strengthen your mind. Because when you're strengthening your body, you're also strengthening your senses, and senses are needed to strengthen the mind. Mudras are the hand mudras that are given, very important. I don't know if a lot of teachers teach it. For me personally, mudras are extremely important. I don't know, Leah, if in your you have been learning mudras. Mudras are hand gestures. Even if you see movies, or how they will show a magician doing some hand gestures. And I was surprised. I was watching a trailer of this, some trailer was of some television thing about magicians and witchcraft, which was playing. My son was watching something. And they were making some mudras which were completely, it was from the Vedas. I'm like, whoa, where is that coming from? And so then I looked it up, and I noticed some of the mudras or hand gestures used by so-called magicians and mystics is the same as coming from Vedas. Oh, you practice some of the yoni mudras. So mudras are very important. And in within a class, mudras can be taught. Very simple swastik mudra or very simple mudras. Even namaste, when we put both our hands together and we bring it to our heart center, that is a mudra, namaste. And when we open our hands, it's anjali. And it's one of my favorite things to do. And of course, I've been a dancer, so mudras are so important. And by doing certain mudras, you can actually invoke gods and goddesses. And I usually try and do a little mudra when I'm doing my nadi or my workshops to do some invocation, but I kind of do it on the side. Pratyahara. So ahara means to eat. What do you eat? You eat food, you eat thoughts, and you eat and breath. Pratya means controlling breath, controlling what you're eating, and controlling your thoughts. Pranayam, we already know. I don't know why I've written pranayam for lightness. That doesn't make sense, but for balancing Vayu and Agni. Dhyan for perception, it does help. The cloudy quality of the mind is gone. And when you're doing dhyana, when you're doing meditation, then when you sleep, then your body is still in a state of meditation. In fact, I don't know, I was telling you, Leah, the other day, if you meditate at night, just even if you meditate 5 minutes and you meditate on something, have you noticed if you watch a really a movie or a television just before you go to bed, it's possible their sleep may be disturbed. But if you meditate and do just even 5-10 minutes of yoga practice and meditation practice before you go to bed, then it sets a pattern. If you do it every day, then you eventually your sleep itself becomes a meditative practice, and it unfolds healing. And samadhi is eventually the aim and objective of the life, which is not, dhyan is the practice, samadhi is the objective. Okay. And this is, did we forget Shiva Samhita? I think I forgot to write Shiva Samhita. I've got my notes somewhere, so maybe I'll share that separately with you. Shiva Samhita talks about 84 postures given by Sri Shankara. And out of this, the first 4 are most important. They include Siddhasana, Padmasana, lotus pose. The pose that they show Shiva actually sitting in that pose where he's meditating. So out of the 84 postures, the 4 are most important. It's all about meditation. The aim and objective of asana is to meditate, to control the mind, to control the senses. That is it. No more, no less. But because yoga is such a beautiful practice that even if someone's approaching it, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that 4 types of people come to me. Either they want money or they want wealth and desire something. 1. Number 2, they're unhappy and sad and want happiness. Number 3, they're seeking knowledge. And number 4, they love me. I mean, they're devotees, right? 4 types of people come to God, whether they're coming from. The point is, you can start from, approaching divine and God from, oh, I want money and I want wealth and I want to have a big house and da-da-da-da-da-da. But Krishna is so, let me not use the word Krishna. Let me say divine. Divine is very clever, He's God. She's God. She's goddess. He's God. Very, very clever. So even when we desire something and we go to our Ishta, when we go to our Lord and say, we have the desire, they will fulfill the desire in such a way that we will not ask for it again. So if the desire is to have a beautiful body so it can attract men or da-da-da-da, okay, tathastu, let it be. It will happen by practice of yoga, practice of bhakti, but it'll happen in such a way. Now, person is unhappy and sad and wants knowledge and becomes a devotee. It's a process. So even if they're coming to yoga for whatever, somebody told me that it helps with neuropathy or, I can't stretch, I'm older, but it's a start. It's a start in this life. That's okay. But you know, as someone who's going to be teaching yoga in a classroom setting, or even in an office setting where you're just making them stretch, sitting in a chair or something like that, um, just a little bit of help, your own energy, because you yourself is a practicing yogi, will change their life without you using the word mantra or knowledge or meditation. Nothing. Just your presence would change them. So you yourself are the tool. And I mean, one of the things I do, I love to go to different, I mean, nowadays not so much, but I love to go to different yoga classes with different teachers, young, old, very old. My preference is always older. And, I've been to some yoga teacher classes. They are so wonderful. I can't do most of those bendy poses, but they're just so wonderful that just their presence and even the presence of people who are there, you leave happy and blissful. And then there are others, you can leave really unhappy. So you come in the class really expectant and leave really unhappy with all of that stuff dumped over you. I don't know if that makes sense. So the yoga class is not about the yoga, it's about the teacher who's teaching and their intention. Does that make sense? So for us, for me, I was totally not going to do any yoga teacher trainings because I always thought I'm so unqualified. But I had a visitation from a master. Just recently, I had a visitation from a master in a dream, and I was pretty much, ordered to do something. So this is part of that. I am not the doer. So I believe through me, the master wants to come to you guys and wants you to teach yoga in a yoga setting and change people's energy. And if you're sitting there knowing you are not the doer. So if somebody, and that somebody should know that I'm talking about them, says, oh, I am not confident I can teach yoga. You are not a yogi. You can never teach yoga. I cannot teach yoga. Only God can teach yoga. Only a master can teach yoga. But you can be a medium. You can open your heart, be a medium, and let it flow through you. So if I sit there and say, I'm your teacher, I'm not your teacher. I am just the medium. So having that attitude, you will change everybody's lives. So I hope that person understood who I'm talking about. All right, these are very important. I don't even know if we're actually going to be able to cover all of them. So one thing, Ashtanga yoga as an Ashtanga Vinyasa yoga from the Joyce yoga line is not the Ashtanga yoga that I'm talking about here. So there are 8 limbs of yoga in certain yogic texts, and of course in Gheranda Samhita there's 7 limbs of yoga. But the Ashtanga yoga practice where they have the primary and a series is a different thing. We're not talking about that. You have the yama, and I don't know where the niyamas went. I am sorry. I know I was missing something. There's the niyamas. Okay, you have the yamas and the niyamas. I'll have to do this one again. Today we're going to talk about just the yamas mostly. So you have 8 limbs. So there's basically a set of 10 ethical guidelines, 5 in yama and 5 in 10 ethical guidelines. For who? For the student who's going to sit in front of you, who's going to say, take a deep breath and raise your arms up and bring your arms to the heart center and let's breathe deeply and say Om. Is this the ethical guideline for that person? For your student? No, the ethical guideline is for us. Because we are going to be sitting there on a Vyasasana. So when I started the Ayurveda college, I know it may not make sense what I'm saying. People would sometimes, like Kirtiji would come and touch my feet. And Parnaji is giving me all this respect. I mean, Leah is giving me all this respect. It's so embarrassing. And people are touching my feet and, they think I'm this amazing, great person. And, You know, when you have the ego of being a teacher, then everything goes to the, it goes down from there, because whenever the ego comes in, everything is finished. And I was so afraid that I will fall down, I'll go to hell for accepting so much respect. And I kept on meditating and meditating. I said, how can I let anybody touch my feet? How can I let anyone respect me? I am not qualified and they are giving me so much respect. What to do, what to do? And then, you know, I met this amazing, this was actually a patient of mine who was an amazing dancer. And she came and I went to take, I took one dance class from her, classical dancing, where she taught me some mudras. I wanted to learn some mudras from her. And then she said, when I'm sitting on the chair, Manjulali, you must come and touch my feet. And then I asked her, I said, but how can you do that? You know, a teacher is supposed to be humble. She said, I am not the teacher. When I sit on that seat belongs to my gurus and the master. I am the medium. So you're touching the feet of the medium, not my feet. And that stuck with me. So, you know, people will come and they'll say, oh, you are such an amazing teacher. That was such an amazing class. Please let's not think that we are amazing. We are just a vessel, and they will, you know, they are going to be taking the teachings from you, not the teacher. So these ethical guidelines define us. Number one, you see there's 5 here, and these 5 are from Shandilya Upanishad, added later. These are, so if you look at different yoga texts, some people say there's 10 yama, and then they write it like this, yamas. There is no such thing as yamas. It's like saying pittas or kaphas or vatas. There is no S added in Hindi or Sanskrit. So when people say yamas, there is no yamas. It's yama, yama. And here in the Western world, the Lucifer is the god of the underworld. In Eastern philosophy, the god of the underworld is also called Yama or Yamaraj, god of the underworld. He's one of the Mahajans who actually is a god, is a demigod, and he actually he is the master of non-violence, truthfulness, and Yama. So that is also Yama. So first 10 set of 10 ethical guidelines. Actually, these are 5, and these have been added later. Ahimsa, Satya, Asatya, Brahmacharya. So, I mean, ahimsa, satya, satya, these are like, you know, you're already doing it. I want to address brahmacharya. So, you know, when I was creating this particular PowerPoint, I went and looked at our own notes from the college that other teachers had done. And I went and checked many, many websites given by many different teachers. And they use the word, okay, here it is. They will use anything but sex. They will use the word non-covet, covetousness, is that the right word to use? Or they will use excess, or they will use restraint. But there is no word sex used because they, you know, in their mind, sexual restraint, it's not possible. Then I actually found a website where this is really nice yoga teacher had written a blog about the yama, and she said, well, I don't really agree with one of this yama because I believe sex is a beautiful thing. So it's, in my humble opinion, maybe this is kind of outdated. So I was scratching. I said, brahmachari, brahmacharya means celibacy in Sanskrit. Why are we mincing around? You know why we are mincing around? Because if you tell Westerners sexual restraint, they will run away from yoga and never come back. It is restraint. And it is restraint. It's not just restraint, it's celibacy. And of course, we talk about if you are using the sexual organs and, you know, too much reproductive fluid is coming out, that will release your ojas, it will release your pran. And if your ojas and pran is not there, how are you going to practice? But if it's within a marriage, even if it's within you know, homosexual marriage, doesn't matter. If it's within you know, someone who has taken each other for life in front of God, that is still considered celibacy. And at least restraint. And even within a marriage, it's not every day or every other day. So that's a subject. But let's understand that's one of the very important things, being brahmacharya. And we are not going to call it just restraint. Yes, it can be other things too. It's definitely being within a marriage or being in a relationship that you've accepted in front of God. That, and then within a marriage, sex is considered celibacy, and it's a very important niyam. Aparigraha is non-possessiveness. I want what the other person has. Shama, to be able to forgive. Dhriti is fortitude. Daya is compassion for all jivas, all entities. Arjav is sincerity. Mitahar, this is the one I've always struggled with, being very honest here. I pretty much everything I've practiced. Maybe I struggle a little bit with Kshama. Measured diet. When I have been offered sweet things that increase kapha, I have no measure of mitta. And this is my lifelong, maybe in next life I will learn this. I just take, if for Indian sweets, I will go for second helping and third helping and fourth helping. It's just too much. So knowing where we are at is good, and this is an improvement that I need to do. And yeah. Oh, Leah, you never take second helping, so you don't know. And Sandra barely eats anything, so she's already a master. Yes, so this is kind of hard one for me at least. But we are trying. No. I have never seen you eat more than 2. If it's a salad or something, green, I will only take 1. So this is a very important thing. How are we practicing these yama in our life? Of course, ahimsa. One application would be vegan and locally organically grown food, because we don't want to harm the soil and Mother Earth, and reduce violent input to sensory organs. So, because we also don't want to do ahimsa to ourselves. And watching too many murder mysteries and all these violent shows on TV, yeah, that really puts a strain. That is like doing ahimsa to your senses. And then again, this is hard, especially with women. They do that all the time. We look in the mirror and we reduce ourselves. We are too fat. We are too thin, and that's we suffer confidence issues. So please, let's not do ahimsa to ourselves, because our body does not belong to us. It belongs to God. It belongs to our Ishtadev, and they're taking care of us, and it's a temple, and that is one of the applications. And then satya is truth, honesty. Being honest. Being honest is, not just, is this bag of chips good for me? Just being honest to yourself, and honest in does alcohol, drug. Of course, you know what? One thing, even if you ask this question, does this beautiful mango ice cream and mango lassi good for me? But you're still going to have it. But at least you asked yourself. But the thing is, one of the reasons even if you end up, even if you end up eating that bag of chips that was not good for you, why is this recommended? Because as you read, go ahead and read the Yoga Sutras, and you read Hatha Yoga Pradipika, you read these texts, and they talk about the practice, the sadhana, and they say you're a practitioner. You haven't reached the aim and objective yet. You haven't become an expert yet. So asking the question itself is a start. Understanding what I'm doing, I need to change and I need to make an improvement itself is the practice of yoga. Does that make sense? And when we do not admit the truth to us, it leads to duplicity, and duplicity kills bhakti, and duplicity kills the practice of yoga and all the punya and all the tapas that we have acquired. So it's very important to be truthful, at least to ourselves. Non-stealing. I mean, it seems very simple. Don't steal from others, but also it means don't steal anybody's happiness, which is something that because all my life I say what I think. So when I joined the corporate sector in my early 30s, I actually did some jobs, and it was very hard for me. And then I actually worked on. I said, if you're too truthful and you do not um, talk in such a way you may hurt other people's feelings. So also not stealing somebody's happiness. And also not allowing someone else to steal your happiness. I mean, honestly, one of the ahimsa is if someone is verbally or even verbally abusing someone, and be accepting that verbal abuse is ahimsa to yourself. How is that a practice of yoga? Non-stealing let's not steal anybody's happiness. That is also part of that. And of course, a physical body, eating in accordance with dosh, prakriti, and so on. I already talked about brahmacharya because to practice very deep dhyan and meditation, your prana and ojas should be very high, and that's a good meditation. Not just sexual restraint, but also eating in moderation, which is also mitahara. Then greed. What is the non-grasping? This would actually come under the satya, truth, honesty as well. The last one, this is the same one. It is called aparigraha. We will talk a little bit about aparigraha in the next class as well. So let's go back and look at, you have yama and you have niyama. So yama is how basically it's your ahara and vihar. And how we can improve our life. So there's a lot of self-introspection involved here, right? There are 10 yamas. There are things we do. There are things we don't do. It's life. You're not perfect. We're human. So it definitely talks about ahar. It talks about vihar. It talks about how we feel. It talks about how we react and how we can improve our life. And it has really nothing to do with asanas. Niyama. I want to talk about niyama as in someone who is from an ashram life. So both Leah and I are initiated by in a lineage of gurus, and so is Atul, and so is Aparnaji. You know, you have initiation means it's called twice born. So when you find a very powerful guru or a yogi, and they initiate you, meaning that they give you a mantra and they take away all your bad karma from all your previous lives, literally, they take it away and you feel it, they cleanse you up, and then you're called twice born brahmana, or you're called initiated. And niyama and initiation is very important. For Leah will practice her niyamas that, oh my God, amazingly every single day. Even when she was here for 2 days, she stayed with me. It was amazing. I was a little ashamed because I don't practice it as much as she does. But to be initiated means the guru has taken your karma. The guru has taken your bad karma. And what have you given to guru? We give to guru a promise. We take niyama. Niyama is something that we were going to do every single day, come rain or shine. So Atul and I, when we took initiation, I took initiation when I was 23 or 24. Yeah, 24, I think. And he took initiation when he was 15, and he's 55 now, so you can see how long he's been initiated. So I'll talk about Atul. Atul took that he will keep Ekadashi fast. Ekadashi fast is the 11th day. So one of the niyamas, that means every single Ekadashi. So now, for 40 years he's been keeping Ekadashi and chanting 16 rounds. He pretty much, 16 rounds of for japamala, your beads, and meditating on certain mantras. And offering food to deities. So these are just example. Shaucha, of course, getting up early in the morning. I mean early. I mean like 4 a.m. early. and doing meditation. Putting others before you, always. These are just couple of niyamas. So when we take initiation from a guru, and even if you haven't found a guru yet, which is fine, you have a divine, you have an altar. So you say that, I'm surrendered to you and I take this niyama. And you can also take a niyama temporarily. For example, um, uh, in the month of Kartik, which comes around October, November, sometimes I'll take a niyama that every single morning at 5 p.m., 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., I will light a candle and do certain puja or offer this flower every single day for 4 days. So you can also take a temporary niyama. So this is just few things. Ekadashi fast, 16 rounds, meditating on mantras, 3 times a day, offering food to deities, cooking with love, doing charity, getting up early, meditation, putting others before you, and da-da-da-da-da-da. I haven't been able to I have just been able to do the Ekadashi fast. I did no onions, no garlic for 13 years, and then the last 3 years I started eating garlic. But pretty much I did 32 rounds actually, but more. And then I became really proud. Oh my God, I can do 32 rounds. And then Krishna took it away just like that. And now, my God, if I can do 5 rounds, it's like, oh, hallelujah. I did 5 rounds of my mala, of my meditation. And the rounds, when we say, for every bead that we do, we actually say the mantra every single time we go on the mala. And the mala, the beads are 108 in number. And then you have the meditating mantras that have been given to you that you meditate on, either in the morning or afternoon or in the evening. Offering food to deities is pretty much the only thing. So a little bit of meditating mantras, food to deities, cooking with love. It's hard sometimes because I'm screaming at my kids. Yeah, charity, getting up early, forget it. Never been able to do that. Or if I get up early, nowadays I've been getting up at 4:30. And I, do a little this and that, and 5 o'clock I'm back to sleep. But as far as I'm concerned, I meditated at 4 o'clock, but I went back to bed. And trying to put others before you. But the idea is, you don't have to take niyama that has been said in a book. You can take your own niyama. You can, and try it. I mean, do a niyama on, like many yoga teachers take a niyama on doing a fast on Purnima or a full moon day. Yes, that is a niyama. So you can take a niyam and say, I'm going to do it for 3 weeks or 8 weeks or 10 weeks. And, one of the things that if you do a niyam for Shiva or Hanuman, that for 5 Tuesdays or 6 Tuesdays or 8 Tuesdays, I'll do Hanuman Chalisa or something, and it changes your life. So I just wanted to talk about niyamas before and that is, so it doesn't have to be the niyamas that we are saying that come from a book. So niyama prepare you to see how you treat the inner world, because it also gives you discipline. And honestly, when you take a niyama and you're taking a name of a divine person or ascended master, they will help you keep your niyama. You won't be able to break it. I'll tell you a story about it later. Reflects on your outer world. It is through the application of the niyamas that we begin to sense our inner gifts. So we have a lot of siddhis and we have a lot of gifts and powers. Many people, they realize their psychic abilities and so on, and things come together. So what exactly are these niyamas? And these are the second set of 10 guidelines. You have Shauch, Santosh, Tapas, Swadhyayan, Ishwar Pranidhan. Shauch. Shauch is very important. This is very funny. I went to one of these yoga gym thingies, and the bathroom said Shauch facilities. I just thought that was so cute. I'm like, what? That was Shauch facilities? So yeah, very important to be clean, both internal and external. And of course, you have the daily routine. The morning routine, scraping the tongue, neti pot, eating clean food, bathing, and so on and so forth. And also, one of the things, this is personal, I don't like to keep my feelings inside and, let them disturb me or the other person. Clean it, get it out of your system. So it's a Atul says I like to keep my mind clean by changing my mind often. But yeah, keeping your things in. The thing is, how Shauch has translated for me in my yoga practice, maybe it did not, uh, or it will not manifest for you in that way. So for all of us, these niyamas will manifest in different ways because we are all in different levels, and we all have the same destiny, but we are on different paths, right? So how they manifest for you may be different from me, and it is possible you may find your path is same also similar to mine, but not. Do you understand? So it's all different for anybody. How that manifests for you is different. Santosh is, let's be happy with what we have been given. It is hard sometimes. New car, job, wife, husband, bigger, you know, more money, power. Everything we do in life, pretty much how we are basically just seeking happiness. And if we were content, then nature would manifest things. So the idea is finding your contentment in self. So the whole practice of yoga is when we do the meditation and we do the asana, it forces you to look inside yourself instead of looking outside. So it will automatically bring the process of santosh and contentment. This is, I would hear this all the time from so many of my teachers. Tapas is discipline, meaning that if you're going to take a niyam that I'm going to do, my stars personally, I have a Ketu and Saturn together, so it gives me a lot of mysticism, but it also makes it hard for me to keep a practice together and discipline. And even knowing that, I try. But it's very important to, do some discipline and shed some sweat. Tapas, same, tapa is working hard, physically and also some mental discipline. If I'm going to do this 20 minutes, I'm going to do it 3 times. If you say I'm going to do yoga 3 times a week or do meditation 3 times a week, you're going to do it 3 times a week, even if it's for 10 minutes. So keeping at it, it's very hard. And also making a commitment and sticking to it. Not everybody can do it. Usually pitta people will have more tapas and they will kind of overdo things even. But yeah, it is, and this is why so many people who are vatas are generally attracted to yoga, and yoga is so beneficial for them because it really helps balance kapha, pitta, vata. Swadhyaya, I think we all do it, is swa means self, dhyaya means to study yourself, study your atma, study your body, study where you're in life, study where you're going wrong, where you can go right. It's really like being your own teacher. And this is my favorite. So Ishvara Pranidhan. And again, I went on the internet. I looked at the translation of Ishvara Pranidhan. People are shy to use the word God. Ish is a word which means Vishnu. Ishwar comes from word Ishan, which is also my son's name, which is name of Sri Vishnu, and it's also name of Sri Shiva. Ish means one who is either Shiva or Vishnu and who is divine. Ishvara. Pranidhan, to surrender. So people will say surrendering to the universe. And I totally understand why they use the word universe, because in a yoga teacher training where people have paid so much money and you're using the word, and they might be, Buddhist or some other religion, and we might offend them. And even I used to use the word universe, divine. No, well, that's what it means. That's what it actually means. Isha, Ishana, Prana in Vishnu Sahasranam. Vishnu Sahasranam are 1,000 names of Sri Vishnu. One of the Prana is also a name of Vishnu. Ishana, Prana is a name of Vishnu. It is name of Sri Shiva, and I'm not sure, but in Hebrew culture, the word Ish is used as well for God, which was very surprising to me in Hebrew. To surrender. I mean, really, if we surrender, it kind of takes the all the worries off your shoulder. You know, if I have a problem, I just say, Krishna, this is your problem. It's not my problem. You know, it really makes your life easy. I mean, if you're a devotee of Shiva, Shiva, this is your problem, not my problem. I'm your devotee. So really just, it makes it so easy, right? You're a devotee of Lakshmi, say, oh, Lakshmi or Durga Ji. Just, yeah, so whosoever your deity may be, let them take care of you. And this is one application for, you know, for your student more than yourself, shift in paradigm. And this will happen naturally, just by breath control. You know, just by, you know, the simple process of taking both your hands together, putting them together and putting them near your heart. And when you say namaste to someone else, you're actually saying namaste to the Ishvara or super self that resides within your heart. And just by the process of folding your hands together, that's a mudra that will open up the doors to connection to the divine. I know it's a very simple thing, but it's an amazing, amazing thing. So this is, we are going back to Yoga Alliance. They expect the students to practice yoga, and they want the students ideally to practice every day, but I changed it to twice a week. And one of the things that I would like you to do is go to a couple of yoga classes from different yoga teachers. And if you want to come to me, I have this weekend or in the week or next weekend. We can talk about when you know, Sandra and Kristen, you're both in Escondido. We can all kind of get together, and we'll take turns teaching each other. Pranayama every day. Every day. You can't escape pranayama. Pranayama can be done. You're sitting on the, you know, in a driver's seat and driving. You can practice. Sandra, if you have a student who's giving you a hard time, just do a little bit of pranayama. We could for a little while. I just have a 1 hour window if you're coming in early afternoon. I don't know how you're placed on Sunday. Everybody is going to be busy because of Valentine's Day. You do? Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful. You know, I do pranayama when I take a bath. Yeah. I totally get that, because that would bring the kapha. Oh, that's beautiful. And this is something that I've added. Maintain a journal for all your practical assignments, whatever way you want to do, a folder and a yoga workbook. Obviously, Kristen, you don't have to do that. Kristen's already a yoga teacher, by the way. Memorize Sanskrit names of asanas. I had all the Sanskrit name of asanas memorized, but sometimes I forget, so it'll be great exercise for all of us. And get good at drawing some stick figures, because when we do the yoga sequencing, then you know, we'll do the sequencing using stick figures. Okay, so that's the philosophy portion. The last 2 slides. So the 6 basic asanas. Now, today I'm going to talk just about a little bit of 6 basic asanas, and it doesn't even make sense because nobody's showing you how to do it. But before you go to bed, try at least either face down or face up or seated or standing. Don't do inverted yet, but seated is good. Seated is good, or on your knees. Try these 6 basic asanas. They are an amazing, they're basic 6 movements in yoga practice that basically are moving your spine in 6 different directions. And it can be used in any way. It's definitely in the 12 basic asanas of Surya Namaskar. And when you couple it with breathing and pranayama, that itself is a standalone yoga practice. It itself is a cool down, and it's a warm up. And it's so easy to teach, because if you're doing, you know, a heavy duty exercise like Surya Namaskar and trying to teach someone, it's hard because you're trying to talk and you're trying to speak. But these ones can be used as a warm up. It can be used in between asanas to take the class from A to B. It can be used as a cool down, and it can be used as a standalone practice before you meditate, especially if you're been multitasking or your vata is high. or if you're kapha like me, it stimulates, because I'm so lazy. I mean, I feel like I should start my asana practice just doing shavasana and going to sleep. So I actually start my practice with shavasana because I'm just, ugh. And then slowly as I do it, so I actually do it lying down. And then, yes, and slowly as I'm extending, doing a little fish pose. Extension means when you're, it's not a proper back bend. So if you were to take your hands and put them on your back and just do a little micro bend, uh, putting your face up towards the ceiling, just a micro bend, that's you extending your spine. That's it. And this can be done lying down, like, for example, when you do a little bit of fish. And flexion is when the spine is coming off towards a forward bend. Doesn't mean you have to touch your two. Even a little forward bend, let's say 15 degrees or 20 degrees, it's a little forward bend. So it can be done sitting on a chair. So these are the two movements that can be done. And then towards the right, if you extend your right arm and go laterally towards your right, the sideways movement, and the left. These two are the left and right movement, and they can be done with breath. So with breath. So when my very first yoga teacher, when I was 10 years old, I remember they used to make us wear these white shorts and a white shirt, a white kurta, which is like a tunic for this. So this is I mean, we did this for 1.5 years. So my first yoga teacher, forward, backward, sideways, sideways, twist to right, twist to left. So that's how we would start a class. We were 10 years old, 5th graders. It was amazing. And it just, it sticks with you when you're young. So the idea is anytime a person does a little back bend, so you are really disturbing the energy in the spine a little bit, right? So in order to balance that extension, we must do a little front bend, right? When you go sideways, either left or right, it feels amazing on the other side, but you're disturbing the energy on the opposite side. So you must balance the energy by going on that other side. And if you do a twist, and it doesn't have to be an amazing twist. I mean, sitting down right now, you're probably sitting in a chair, taking your hand and putting on the opposite knee and doing a little twist. That is a twist. But if you only do it in one side, it's unbalancing. It has to be done on both sides. So if you go back, you have to go front. If you go side, you have to go the other side and twist both. And they can be done face down. How will you do it face down? If you're doing a cat-cow, on the floor. So it can be started off as a warm-up in a yoga class. So usually, I mean, I don't do a group yoga class. I've done a few group yoga classes, but mostly just with my clients and privates, and as part of the Ayurveda workshops that I do. I just did a group yoga class on the women's support workshop. I forgot. So when we are down on our hands and knees, then our face is down. So you can do all this extension, flexion, sideways, and twisting in that position. You can do it seated. You can do it lying down. So how would you do it lying down? Doing a little fish pose, even doing a little, lying down, putting your elbows on the side and extending your chest a little bit. It automatically is an extension of the spine. So twisting your shoulders back and front a little bit would be, and then again, this can be done lying down. And of course, standing is super easy. And yeah, it can be done inverted, but I've never tried it. So these 6 movements pretty much define your entire yoga practice. And what is the aim and objective? So when you couple it with breathing and pranayama, or even when not coupled, first of all, the pran starts flowing. Because where does pran flow? Pran is flowing, which is you have your nadi, you have your shumna nadi, and it stimulates the agni. So if you keep on doing the 6 basic asanas, sitting down, facing down, up, on the hands and knees, in any way possible, it will stimulate Agni. Or if you're doing it really slowly and you're doing it lying down, it's a great cool down. It does stimulate your Majja Dhatu. So if the mind chatter, remember, aim and objective of yoga is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha. That means mind chatter. So when we are doing these 6 movements, it actually brings the mind chatter back. So it calms the mind, it stimulates Majja Dhatu. And you can use it in a class setting or sitting in a office chair, warm up and cool down. So very little homework tonight before you go to bed. You can try this 6 different asanas. Just how many seconds does it take? 1 minute. Either sitting down, standing up, lying down, whatever, before you do your meditation practice and breathing. And you will see a little difference in the way you're practicing your meditation. Because if you have practiced asanas before you do your meditation, then you will see a huge difference. You will see that maybe you're able to sit better and you're able to sit longer in your meditation because you've stimulated that pran as well. So maybe you can do that today. And this is a little Sanskrit. So whenever we go forward, Paschim, it means Western. So we call Paschim Desh Western countries, or back, which are in the back of India. Paschim. Tan is stretch. So you will see so many Paschim Tan. These are 2 things that we used. Every time you use Paschim, it is a back. Purva is in the front. Purva also means east. Purva is east. Purva is also front. Again, stretching in the front. Oh, I saw it. This should be backward. This should be front. Sorry, I'll have to go and change the slide. And yeah, I wrote it really fast. I'll go and make the changes. Lateral movement, pari is side, and vritti is movement. Pari is side, and vritti is movement. You know what? Why don't I do this? I'll start a Google Drive document, or maybe one of you can start it, and we start listing the name of asanas, and I'll start breaking down. And I know there's already out there, but it's good to write these things because when you write these things down, it tends to stick. So maybe you can make a list of Sanskrit asanas, maybe 7 asanas a week that you have to memorize the Sanskrit names. 7 a week. That's it. So maybe just 1 a day. So you just memorize the Sanskrit name of an asana, because you cannot be in a class setting and you don't even have to use it ever in a class setting. Just the Sanskrit name and it will start sticking. And what I'll do is I'll start a Google Drive document, and what I started here, and I've already made 2 mistakes because I did it so fast, then I'll share it with you. And then you actually have to write it down. Homework, lots of it. That's it. That's it for me today.